Hello everyone and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I have a new project for us today and it is a make with me, some paper that I designed in Canva, and I'm calling it Beary Merry Christmas, and I think you'll like it. It has 3 pages, and this of course is going to be the main cover sheet, and then it has a set of bears on one page, and it says, have a very special birthday and have a very Merry Christmas. Now this happens to be in green and this happens to be in black ink. And then it also has some little owls. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but there's some little owls right up in here. So there's several little sentiments. There's an inside sheet for the owl page and an inside sheet for the bear page as well. Let me show you how I cut these, because the first page, and if you're looking for an ink that kind of goes with this paper nicely, I'm using Garden Green today, and I just have a Thinking of You at Christmas stamp, which we may or may not use, it just depends. And then let me show you how I've cut this, because it will make 3 very nice cards if you cut it right. Now this upper quadrant here we're going to use for something besides a card front, but you could very easily make this into a card front. So that's the way we're going to cut them, and they are 4 inches by 5 1/4. Now when you cut, sometimes you might want to nudge just a little bit more off of this side or a little bit more off of that side. You'll have to trim your white off and then make your decisions on the final cuts on what you want. But this is what we're going to use today, and I'll get those out of the way. And I want to show you how I cut this page, because it's important that you leave yourself enough room here to use your punch to cut these little bears out. So what I have done is I cut this lower half at 5 inches. So that will leave 6 inches up here, which should give you plenty of room to get your punches out of. And then we'll cut these into A2 size panels, which will be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So your first cut at 5 will have taken half of that measurement out of the equation for you. And we'll go ahead and cut these in just a second. Now on these, what I'm going to do is to get my 1-inch punch, just a 1-inch circle punch. You could very easily use a circle die if you wanted to. And I'm going to punch these bears out and get them out of the way. So this is the first step. And you want to stay as low as you can and get your complete bear out. And you should have 4 bears, 2 facing right and 2 facing left. Make sure you get your whole bear in there. We have these 4 nice little accent bears to use in just a minute when we get to that point. And then I want you to take your scissors and trim these bears off, leaving enough room to cut this panel out, because this is a card front. We're going to fussy cut those, but we're going to put this back on the paper trimmer and cut it at 4 to 5 1/4. And you'll have to be a little careful with your cut to make sure, first of all, of course you want to cut that weird white line off again. Just can't get away from that, can we? So I want to cut this to 5 1/4. And there we go, and you'll see it takes just a tiny little bit off here, and if you cut it right at where the white line ends, you'll get the other end off. And then this one, I want to cut to 4, but what I think I want to do is to take a little bit more off the bottom and leave myself room to put a star up here. So now I'm going to trim just a tiny bit off the top as well. And there we go. So this is going to be our 3rd bear card for our Christmas cards today. And on these little guys, I'm going to fussy cut out right around here and not worry about that hind leg. Let me show you one real quick, and you'll see just how quickly this little bit of fussy cutting does. Cut off that little bit of shadow, because you'll want to leave the shadow on your back layer, and make sure you get all of your white paper cut off. If you cut just a little bit too much off, it's better to do that than to leave a white edge showing on these little guys. And you'll notice they both have a little bit different snow pattern on them. So you'll have to choose the one you want. Oh, and I should have mentioned to you, get the one get the one that's facing to the right for this card, obviously, but I still should have mentioned it. There we go. And then I'm just going to come on down and trim this front foot right off of there. There. So this is going to be an easy piece to foam up, and I'll go ahead and cut this other one off in just a second. Let's look at that extra sheet of paper that has the owls on it, and here it is. And again, we're going to cut this lower section here at 5 inches, so that leaves 6 inches up at the top for you to do what you need to do with, you see. And then we're going to cut these to 3 3/4 by 5, and these will be the inside layers for our card. So this would be the one then, this leftover that's 6 inches. And I want to get a hole punch here, and I believe it's my 2-inch punch, and see if I can cut these owls out. You can cut this by hand. There's a black line that you can follow, or you can use a 2-inch punch and get a very nice image that way. And then these others, will come out with a 1-inch punch. And that will leave a little white border, and kind of make sure that your border's even all the way around if that bothers you, if it wouldn't be even. So there you can see how nice that comes out that way. And you'll have to kind of work your trim a little bit as you go just to get your punches out. And then you'll have to work your labels however you want to cut them. And I'm going to go ahead and put my little hoot hoot on a circle punch as well for the card we're going to make today. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use the pink one or the white one, so I'm just going to punch them both out. And there we are. So this is the additional sentiments that will probably go with those cards. And let me get my other little bear front cut, and I'll come right back and we'll get these cards assembled, because they're easy cards to put together. Now, you could, of course, use a cutting die with a decorative edge on it, or you could use decorative scissors to cut these out instead of just using your guillotine cutter or your paper trimmer to cut the front layers out if you chose to do that. I just wanted to make these quick and easy, and I know most everybody has a straight cutter, so that's what we decided to use today. And so that's what we're going to put down as our first layer, is just a basic straight cut, but you don't have to. There's enough paper here for you to do pretty much whatever you want to do with these little guys. They're very, very cute when they get finished. And let me stop right now and give you some examples so you know kind of what we're working towards today. And here's the first one. And now, of course, it's going to use this panel right here and one of the bare fronts so that it'll set up like that. So we'll go ahead and get this one made first. And then one of the other ones that we're going to make today is with this paper. And this is the finished card and what it looks like. And then we're going to make one that has just a small bear on the front. And it's this one, and that will use the lower half of this piece of paper. So that will go with that. And it will use this paper also. Very easy card to put together. And then we're going to do one owl card. And this is the example that I have before I actually did these little guys for us. I just did one that I stamped my image twice and decoupaged it up. You can see the foam underneath that owl image. And so you can do that with your own stamps if you choose to do that, but I thought it might be handy to have an image for you all to use also. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to need some additional white paper for doing some layers, backings, and that sort of thing. So I have a 2.5 inch round punch here. I don't know what happened to my 2 1/4. We'll just go ahead and punch this right now because I am going to need it. And it'll go up underneath this little guy here and make a really nice little layer that way. So, okay, let me get some of this mess off of here. And we will get started. I'm going to get some foam tape out. Of course, you know, these are designed to be foamed up and decoupaged a little bit because they just make very, very cute cards that way. And I think I'm going to trim this foam down just a tiny bit here for this little bear layer. Give myself some room around the edge where my foam won't show, and make sure that I get enough foam up underneath the face where it just won't collapse in mailing. So I'm going to go ahead, let me move these things out of the road here. We'll go ahead and make this card first. And again, this is one of those really super simple cards where you can just glue it down, foam a piece up, do your sentiment, and then we'll have to cut an inside sentiment because this is going to be a lateral card. I get my tweezers here, and we'll go ahead and glue this panel down. Now you could, if you're going to use a stamp, you could use garden green paper underneath of it, but you'll probably need to use the full panel garden green and not cut this down into a second layer because you'll have to cut too much off of it. So there's the bear, the first one. And now let's see about maybe doing this little guy here. And I'm going to get my trimmer back out so that I can cut this nice and straight for us. So this panel will come out to about 3/4 inch by, let's see what it comes out to, 1 1/2. There we go. And I'm going to get my little corner rounder, and I'm going to use the smallest round on this. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my sentiment up on a little piece of foam, thinking of you at Christmas, and it could be put right down here, and that would be fine. And then I have some stars. You've seen these before. And I'm going to put a star on the top of this tree right here. And you'll see now that's why I didn't want to cut too awfully much off of the top of that card, because this star is going to kind of hang off, and it will come up right next to the edge of that card. And of course there's not going to be any glue underneath this little top part of it, so that's something that you'll want to think about. Now let's look at the inside panel for that card, and I think we'll make this a Christmas card. You'll notice one of the sentiments is Christmas and one of them is for birthday on this, and I'm going to use the Christmas card one. And what I want to do is take the top part of this off. So this is a 4 1/4 inch layer, and if we look at the layers chart again, for a 4 1/4 inch layer, let's just see what it should be so that we'll have a nice border around the inside. It's going to be 4 1/4 by 3 inches. So we're going to cut this to 3. And we'll probably capture that part in a little something something here in just a minute. So we're going to put this on the inside of this card. And there we go. Right like that. Now, if we weren't in the mood to do any additional fussy cutting, this is where one of these little guys would come in very, very handy. But I think what I'll do is just try a little loose cut here. It won't take but 1 little second to do it. And you can do it easily enough to pull this little image from the front into the inside of the card. And you can tell now it didn't take me, what, maybe 30 seconds to do this little cut here. There we are. And I'm just going to glue that down flat for the inside panel of this card. And it finishes it very, very nicely for us that way. Right like so. Have a Beary Merry Christmas, and that card's good to go. You could put some snowflakes on this. There is a little snow on the bear and some snow on the trees. But for today, let's just stop there because we've got some more to make. Now, let's do this panel. And here we go. And we're going to do the same thing we did before with our little bear front here. There we go. And now I'm going to put this on another side fold. Well, maybe I'll put this one on a top fold card right here. I had a lot of nice comments on the Make With Me session that we did last week with the snowmen, and I really appreciate your comments because, you know, as creators, sometimes we're just kind of shooting in the dark as to what people would like to see. And especially when we're doing something like this where I'm creating some paper suites for you, you know, I really kind of put myself out on the limb wanting to know if you all are interested or not. And, oops, I got ahead of myself. And so I appreciate your comments on these videos especially. We're going to put a very special birthday in here because that's the one I have left. And this is the one that we're going to do, the Your Berry Special. And I think I'm just going to use my round punch for that, my circle punch. Let's see which one is the one I want to use. I think it's the 1.5 inch. And there we go, 1.5 inch. Just about right. So now that was the 1.5 inch punch. And what I would like to see is if I can get a 1 3/4 inch out of this little leftover piece of paper here that'll give me a little white border around that. And I think I can. And so this will just be a nice little circle. And we're going to glue it down and then put a little piece of foam up underneath the whole thing. And you'll notice when I did this one, I put a little white back shadow on it, see? And it makes the black ink on this green stand out very nicely that way. So let's go ahead and put us a little piece of foam underneath this. And we'll do the inside part. Your Berry Special. And I think that's a very nice little birthday card. And again, of course, you can put some snowflakes on this if you wanted to. But I wanted to get you all just the basic cards today so that you can progress on in your Christmas card making. Now, we're going to cut this to 3 3/4, but I'm going to start my cut at 3 7/8. And then turn it and cut it at 3 3/4. And because it's 5, you know, we cut this one at 5. We know that this panel is going to fit in there just perfectly for the inside of this card. There we go. Right like that. Have a very special birthday. And that's a sweet, sweet card to send out. So now, let me see, we're down to this panel plus one that I don't seem to be able to find on my desk anywhere. Drives me crazy. Which, of course, I realize I don't have far to go. But let me stop for just a minute and see what I can find. Oh, here it is. Here it is, here it is. Okay, so this is the next card that we're going to do. And it looks like I have cut myself short on the Merry Christmas panel inside. So this one is not going to have an inside panel. We're just going to make it up on the outside. And if I have the chance, I will put another inside panel on that, although I'm not sure where I'll put it. So I'm going to cut this to, let me see, three by 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut it to 2 1/4. I have this piece left now, and then I'm going to cut this one to 3. There we go. And then we're going to go back to this piece, and we're going to cut that at, crazy, I can't remember. We're going to cut that one at 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. So let's cut the 2 1/2 off, and 3 1/4. And that'll give us a nice white layer up underneath this panel. And this is a good way to use those little sections of paper that you're not really quite sure what to do with. You can put them on your card front, and let's go ahead and do that. And then embellish them with whatever's left over. And it works out really well that way. Now this one, we'll get another little star on it, which brings it into the Christmas package of cards. There we go. There's that one. I'm going to put this one down flat. And we're going to go ahead and put it on kind of about right here. Now, we could stamp that, or we could use this little sentiment right here and perhaps cut it down just a tiny bit. Let's do that because it's there and it's well printed for us. Let's go ahead and cut this down to, looks like about 1 1/4. And then I think I'll trim a little bit off the sides as well. So we'll make it about 2 inches by 1 1/4. And there we go. And then this will go right up in there very nicely. And we'll still have enough space for a little piece of foam up underneath of it. And then we're going to get one of those little circle bears and put it on the front of the card that way. Thinking of you this Christmas. And then I think I'll do this little bear right here in that corner. And yes, I am going to put him up on a little piece of foam, because that's just kind of the way I roll with these guys. I think they're cuter when they're elevated up. So let's go ahead and get that done. And then we're going to put this little guy right here in that corner. And you can see how versatile these little cards are. I need to go ahead and put my little star on this tree. Right there. And because we're not putting an inside panel on this card, I am going to go ahead and glue my other little bear down in the corner here. And they're kind of facing each other on this card then when you open the card up. So there's that one. Now let's see, what do we have left? We have this panel left and these little pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this panel down, just like we've been doing. And then we're going to get into our little owls and see what we can come up with. And this will be the first time I've used these little owls, but I think they're adorable. So when you glue these guys down, you can glue them centered or you can offset them. Let's try to offset this one just to give it a little extra something to look at, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Pull it down that way just a little bit. And then I'm going to put this one up on some foam. Yes, of course I am. Of course I am. And we're going to set him on the card, or her, kind of down here a little bit, like so. There we go. And then I'm thinking I might want to put my little hoot hoot up there, right there. Don't you think? I do. Hoot hoot. And I believe I'll put just a tiny little sliver of foam up underneath that side there, just for mechanics, for sending it through the mail where it won't get bent over and collapse on me. That does happen. Yes, it does. So there we go. There we go. Now, this card needs a little something extra on it, and I'm not exactly sure what that does, what that is, but let's go ahead and finish the inside of this card. Hoot hoot, you're a hoot. And so this is going to be the inside of the card, and we're going to again cut that at 5 inches by 3 3/4. That's the inside of that card. Hoot hoot, you're a hoot, and I like it. So I'm going to put this in right here, and that will be a very nice little happy birthday card, thank you card, friendship card, just whatever you want to make out of it. Now, I think I will go ahead and put some little snowflakes on this one just because it kind of needs a little something extra here. Take one last look at it because I'm going to move it out of the road here. So then that leaves us with just a little bit of artwork left, and perhaps a sentiment or two, maybe. I'm not sure. But you'll have some spare parts that you can do something else with, or you can print more copies of the paper and decide to do something else with them. So let me get a fair representation of the cards back out again so that you can see what we've made today. There's this one. I'm going to put this one up here just so that you can remember an idea for that. Or you can do one just like this. And let's see, we had this one. I like it that way, I think, better than stamped. It's crisper somehow. So try it that way and see what you think. I really like this one with the round punch and then the white background on it. That turned out very nicely. And then this one is just a nice little quiet thinking of you card. And again, you could put some snowflakes up in here or some glitter. I did one with glitter. Let me see if I've got, and put my hand on that as well. Oh, this is one that I made that was a square card, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's all kinds of glitter on the trees. And here's another one that I put glitter on the trees. So you can jazz these up just as much as you want to, and they're just fun cards to make and send. So I hope you all have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. We're going to do another 2 more Make With Me sessions, and then we'll get on to probably doing some scrap cards for Christmas. But I wanted to get these out to you as soon as possible. Now, those of you who are waiting on the print, we'll wait until I'm completely through with the entire series, and then I'll make sure the QR codes are on the paper, and I'll print the paper, and I'll contact you back. So at any rate, there they are, and you all have a great week, and I'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.